In this episode, we will look at the life of a man whose criminal career took him across countries where he committed vicious crimes that sent the world reeling. Charles Sobhraj was not your average serial killer. He was charming and suave, with a knack for manipulating those around him. But beneath his charming exterior lurked a dark and twisted mind that reveled in the pain and suffering of others. Please bear in mind that this story is presented for informational purposes only. It is important to remember to show respect to victims of crimes and their families, and be sensitive to their plights. And while you're here, don't forget to click the notification button on your screen to get notified when I post new content. Don't also forget to subscribe to my channel. Your support goes a long way in helping me create new content. Born in Vietnam in April 1944 to a Vietnamese mother and an Indian father, Charles Sobhraj grew up in a world of poverty and violence. His father abandoned the family when he was young, leaving his mother to raise him alone. His mother would later marry his stepfather, who took him in as his own. As a child, Sobhraj was known for his mischievous behavior and his quick temper. It was said he would often feel neglected in favor of the couple's later children. But it wasn't until he reached teenage years and young adulthood that his true nature began to emerge. In the early 1970s, Sobhraj moved to Paris, where he began to develop a reputation as a con artist and a thief. He used his charm and his good looks to seduce wealthy women and then steal their money and valuables. While in Paris, he met and married his wife, Compagnon, and they had a baby together. Together, the couple would run their criminal enterprise, committing robberies, theft, and smuggling operations, which they would use to fund their gambling addiction. The crimes escalated where they would rob tourists by pretending to be tourist guides. The law caught up to them when Sobhraj got arrested, but he escaped arrest and would be on the run for the next 2 years, leaving his wife behind. But Sobhraj's criminal activities did not end there. In 1975, he traveled to Southeast Asia, where he began a killing spree that would last for over a year. Bear in mind that he did not commit these crimes alone. He had help from a man by the name of A.J. Chowdhury, another career criminal whom Sobhraj had recruited to his criminal enterprise. He soon has other loyal followers that he recruited to help him lure unsuspecting tourists. Their victims were mostly young backpackers who were traveling through the region. This group would befriend them, earn their trust, and then kill them in cold blood. His signature move was to drug his victims with a potent cocktail of drugs that left them paralyzed and unable to resist his overtures. He would then strangle them or drown them in a nearby river. 2 of his victims were found wearing floral bikinis, which earned him the nickname Bikini Killer. Despite his ruthless behavior, Sobhraj managed to evade the authorities for several years. He moved from country to country, always staying one step ahead of the law. But eventually, his luck ran out. In 1976, Sobhraj was living in India under a false name when he was arrested for drugging and robbing a group of tourists. The police has been investigating him for some time, and his arrest was as a result of a tip-off from a former accomplice. During his interrogation, Sobhraj admitted to several murders, including the killings of 2 French backpackers in Nepal. He was charged with multiple counts of murder and robbery and sentenced to life in prison. Despite being behind bars, Sobhraj continued to manipulate those around him. He befriended guards and fellow inmates, and he even managed to bribe his way out of prison on several occasions. In 1997, after more than 2 decades in prison, Sobhraj was released on parole. He moved to Paris, where he lived a life of luxury and excess. He was even approached by filmmakers and publishers who wanted to tell his story, but he demanded exorbitant fees for the rights to his life. But his luck finally ran out in 2003 when he traveled to Nepal to renew his passport. He was recognized by a journalist who had been covering his case, and the police were alerted. Sobhraj was arrested and charged with the murder of an American backpacker named Connie Joe Brunzich, whom he had murdered in Nepal in 1975, and he wasn't charged for this crime in his first trial. Sobhraj's trial was a media sensation, with reporters from around the world flocking to Kathmandu to cover the proceedings. He was found guilty of murder and sentenced to a second life imprisonment. In December 2022, the Supreme Court of Nepal ordered his release from prison because of his old age, after he had served 19 years of his prison term. But his legacy lives on as one of the most notorious serial killers of the 20th century. While in prison, Sobhraj's notoriety only seemed to grow. He became something of a celebrity among other inmates who were fascinated by his crimes and his charm. He spends his days reading, writing, and corresponding with fans from around the world. But despite his apparent contentment, Sobhraj was always plotting his next move. In 2010, he married Nikita Biswas, his interpreter, while in prison. Nikita is the daughter of his lawyer and was 20 years old at the time they were married. He was 44 years older than Nikita. However, one prison official refuted the veracity of the union, as he said the marriage likely wasn't consummated. Sobhraj has been the subject of 3 non-fiction books and documentaries and has somehow managed to become something of an infamous household name thanks to his notoriety. Until next time, humans, stay safe out there.